What is going on, fight fans? So today we're going to talk about the Canelo Alvarez pay-per-view numbers, because we don't know what the Canelo Alvarez pay-per-view numbers are. Unfortunately, we have three different reports from three different places, which don't have any sources attached to them. The first one that came out was from Essential Sports, that stated 750,000 pay-per-view buys and a 23 million gate, as well as a second report that came from the SBJ, which reported 650,000 pay-per-view buys with a 22 million gate for the arena. Now, I was at the Canelo Alvarez fight, and it was packed to the brim. That I can say for sure. There was not one seat available at the time that Canelo Alvarez and Berlanga started to their fight began. So I wouldn't be too skeptical of big numbers in terms of the gate, because there was a lot of people that attended the fight. However, other than those two, there's also the WON, and they get pay-per-view numbers from TV broadcasting or from TV pay-per-view buys directly sent to them or through their funnel, since they're connected to that stat and data subset, right? So they see numbers that come from sporting events, from different pay-per-view events, not just boxing, for example, Formula One racing and things like that. They do see different stats that come from different sporting events. So according to the WON, posted by Jed, who's also from a reporter of stats and numbers in terms of sporting events as well, they reported that in terms of the purchasing within the TV pay-per-view buys, it was about 117,000. At first, it was running an estimate of around 106,000, but then they got more numbers or more clarification or a clearer understanding of the numbers that were coming in, and it was 117, making their estimation for the total purchasing based off of the buyer's habit of the stats that come from what's the trickle down effect from buying through pay-per-view, and in comparison to other forms of pay-per-view purchasing like the apps itself, either through DAZN or through Amazon. And they discern that it will be around 400 to 450,000 pay-per-view buys, which that falls in line with what our data-driven prediction is, for around 300 to about 500,000 pay-per-views. Now, I'm still not going to sit here and be like, well, that's the real one, because that's the one that, using data, that we've come to the conclusion the numbers would more than likely be here on Boxing Fanatico. However, we have yet to be wrong. The thing that's more concerning is that we've gotten all three of these. The one that became the most popular doesn't mean that you can't sit here and be like, no, the 650,000 one is the real one because more people are talking about it. But more people are talking about it because they just chose to talk about the 650,000 one. For example, when the 750,000 one dropped, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon of 750,000. But that didn't make that the real one. Now people are jumping on the bandwagon of the 650,000, right? So kind of like important figures in boxing commentary are jumping on the 650,000 one. So it makes people believe that it is real. But when you look at every time they say 650,000, their source is SBJ, right? However, SBJ's source is no one in particular. They say in their article that according to sources, but they don't name the sources. credible sources that get the numbers directly from Prime and DAZN, for example, those people are like Mike Benson, Dan Raphael, Mike Coppinger. Those are the guys that will get it directly from the source, and they'll be able to give it to us. But the very odd thing about this, and this is moving in the same realm of Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, is that we are not getting numbers from reliable sources. We're not getting numbers from Dan Raphael. It's already been almost 2 weeks or more. We're not getting numbers from Mike Coppinger or Mike Benson. We're not getting numbers from Prime directly. We're not getting numbers from PBC. We're not getting numbers from DAZN. We're not getting any numbers, which can be a political strategic move to keep the narrative of the 650,000 out there. If you know that you did about 350,000 or 400,000 and you're trying to be competitive in this market in comparison to other fighters, or just in terms of the amount of revenue you can make or the fights you can put together to make more revenue, right? Like, you want it to be that maybe this is the number, the 650, if your number is lower. So if your number is lower than 650, you may not say anything and just let the 650 float. Because unlike before, when it was on Showtime pay-per-view and the majority of the pay-per-view purchases were via the cable network, WON would know the rough numbers, because 95% of the pay-per-view buys would be through the Showtime network. So we would have an understanding of those numbers because those numbers go public. But the numbers within the apps do not have to go public. Fortunately for us, many times they have put them out. For example, when it was Canelo versus Munguia, we got those numbers from DAZN. But for this one, we didn't. And for Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, we also didn't get those numbers. At this point, I am incredibly skeptical that we will actually receive any official numbers. Now, if in fact they did about 117,000 pay-per-view buys on TV pay-per-view purchasing, it is possible that they could be within the range of 400,000 to 450,000, just using a regression formula based off of how much was purchased on TV. But we don't know for sure. We need to see it, right? So the only thing that we can know that's credible is the 117,000 pay-per-view buys, because the WON has direct data from pay-per-view buys on TV. So that's the only thing we know for sure, but that doesn't indicate what the full number is. So I'm not going to jump on that one just because it is right in line with the numbers that I've mentioned. I'm not doing that. I'm still waiting on someone to give us an actual source so that we can get these pay-per-view numbers and know what they were, right? To me, I care about these numbers because it shows where we are on the in terms of the popularity of the sport and the popularity of each individual fighter. So that's my update. I've been waiting. A lot of people have been messaging me or writing comments like, hey, why have you not updated? Why have you? Because I'm literally still waiting. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me kind of be behind this story whenever different things are being posted. But nothing is concrete enough for me to make a video. This video is just a bridge before that video in hopes that those numbers will actually come out, because till this day, we have not gotten official numbers for the Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney fight. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I know there's a lot of you guys that are just biased to wanting Canelo to fail. So you want it to believe that the WON reporting an estimation of 450 400 to 450,000 is more realistic. I know a lot of you just want Canelo to be the grand master of pay-per-view buys. So y'all want to believe that, well, let me just go with the 650,000 because that's way better than the 450,000, and the 650,000 everybody else is reporting on that being the number. But remember, guys, everyone was just one source: Essential Sports, SBJ, and WON. So none of them have any more credibility than the other. They've all come from one location each. So it's going to be a tough thing to use that to extrapolate what the real numbers are until we get a reliable source. Preferably Dan Rafael, since he gets these numbers much quicker than most people, but I have not seen Dan Rafael post anything on these pay-per-view numbers. He's refuted some numbers and he said, nah, it's not that, it's more than that, or it's less than this, but he's not told us what they were exactly. He's not told us. So we are waiting on some reliable source to finally give us these numbers. And guys, if in fact the numbers are lower than 650,000 and maybe they fall within 400 to 450,000, there's no incentive for Prime, for DAZN, for PBC to tell us what these numbers are. Why would they? What's the point? Let the 650,000 float. It's a rumor that you don't confirm nor deny, and you'll be good. People will believe that that's what it was, and they don't have to say a word. Usually when the numbers are good, you do see them post them. Usually when they're proud of the numbers, you see them post it. You see them give it to other sources to put it out there, like a Dan Rafael. But we have not seen that, which raises some red flags for me. But it is by no means the be all end all. They could just simply not care to put the numbers out. But that's been a staple of boxing fandom and looking into these fighters, knowing what the pay-per-view numbers are. But before, they've never had the control of that, because on TV pay-per-view was automatic. Those numbers become public. But on apps, they can keep these numbers private. All right, anyways, until the next one, guys, of course, we're going to keep monitoring this. And as soon as they drop something reliable, we're going to go ahead and do a video on it. Until the next one, guys, peace out.